All right, let's talk about a little surprising stats here. Did you realize, and whenever I do this segment, it's usually things that I haven't realized, so maybe Scott hasn't realized, and we could talk about it. Vlad Jr. has low-key been raking. Last 40 games for him, it's a .329 batting average, 7 home runs, 31 runs, 27 RBI, 24 walks to 24 strikeouts during that stretch, and OPS over 950. So still would like to see more power, Scott, but 330, 950 OPS, maybe we're about to see one of those crazy runs that Vlad Jr. usually goes on every year. Not every year, but, like every other year.
Sure. That may be. I think there's plenty of talent there. I'm not necessarily counting on it. I've talked about how I think there's a good chance Nick Kurtz is going to be the top first baseman drafted next year, just because Vladimir Guerrero, while he's good, I don't think he quite has the upside we're looking for at that point in the draft. I mean, upside maybe isn't the right word to use. It's just not his most projectable outcome. And other than that 48 homer season, we haven't. Last year was pretty good, but, it was just 30 home runs for a first baseman. Obviously high end, but so high end that you want him to be the first one drafted. I don't know. I even with this hot stretch for Guerrero, I think he's, in my mind, behind Kurtz for next year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's behind Kurtz for this year? No, I don't have him behind Kurtz for this year. And trying to explain that distinction would be tough. Maybe by the end of this year, he won't be behind Kurtz anymore, or ahead of Kurtz anymore.
And I know that you are working on an article just focusing on Nick Kurtz, right? Is that going to be out on the site on Tuesday?
It is. Yeah. I think it's overdue. And I have the time to do it now. So I'm going to do it before the trade deadline craziness to come.
All right, let's talk about Spencer Strider, who was meh at the Royals. 5 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, just 5 whiffs on 96 pitches. The velocity down a little bit here. Fastball down to 94.9 miles per hour. That was his second lowest fastball velocity of the season. And did you realize, Scott, that Spencer Strider's Stuff Plus metric is currently 97 on Fangraphs? For his career, the Stuff Plus is 114 for Spencer Strider. So we've talked a lot this year about how he's not the Spencer Strider of old. I did not realize that his Stuff Plus is that far behind where his career mark usually is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't look at Stuff Plus very much because I don't find it to be a reliable metric, and I don't really understand how it's calculated. I'm kind of skeptical of anything that I don't understand how it's calculated, to be honest. I want to know what's under the hood, but a lot of these stats are proprietary and they're purposely not letting you look under the hood. So there's that. And just when I see leaderboards for it, it doesn't correlate that closely to results as much as, at least from what I've seen, as much as like swinging strike rate does. So I didn't know specifically that Strider's Stuff Plus numbers were down that much, but it doesn't surprise me because his stuff without the plus is down. So it's not throwing as hard, not getting as many whiffs, especially in his most recent couple turns here. And I'm back to being a little concerned about his long-term outlook, to be honest. And it's still a 15.3% swinging strike rate on the season, which is good. It's very good. But I don't know. It just doesn't seem as dominant.
Yeah. And I think, one of the biggest things outside of obviously the stuff just not being where it was, pre-surgery here, is that his location just hasn't been great either. The walks are up this season, 3.7 walks per 9. The last time we saw him in 2023, that was 2.8. The year before that, it was 3.1 walks per 9. And he's also getting hit really hard. I think that can, kind of lend itself to missing spots and bad location as well here. So all around, Strider is obviously not the pitcher that he was before, but I don't know, maybe even a little bit less than the pitcher that we've been selling him to be rest of season. Maybe he's more like a SP3, SP4 type rather than like an SP2 rest of season. Cedric Mullins has hit better in July, 2 for 3 with his 15th home run. I didn't realize, but in July, 258 batting average, 3 homers, 6 steals, an 801 OPS. He also robbed a homer in this game. So my goodness, to hit a home run and rob a home run in the same game, that is just, that's awesome stuff. My guess is he won't be on the Orioles Thursday night here. Again, this is Cedric Mullins, but just a weird season, Scott. April, awesome. Gets off to this great start. Gangbusters for Cedric Mullins. And then May and June combined, it's a sub 600 OPS. And so far here in July has been much better, and he's bounced back. So
he had a really strong finish last year, which is something to keep in mind.
So streaky, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So last 2 years, he hit about 230, 235. He had an OPS 710, 720. They're really, really similar slash lines 2 years in a row. And while he's trailing behind those numbers a little bit this year, that might just be exactly what he is. Boy, I'm looking at how his defensive metrics. Let me look at a better version of those. Looks like they've just cratered this year. According to Cedric Mullins.
According to StatCast, he's still 77th percentile in outs above average, but his arm value is terrible.
Yeah, StatCast, it doesn't look as bad, and that's what most people rely on these days. I was looking at defensive WAR on his baseball reference page. It's minus 1.5, when for most of his career it's been a positive. So I don't know. I don't know how that's being calculated, if the range rating is still good there for Mullins. Yeah. But it makes it like if he isn't a plus defender in center, then I think he probably becomes a role player in the near future.
All right, next up we have Alec Burleson, who we mentioned earlier has been hitting well for a long time. 1 for 2 with his 14th home run, and it was a rough start for Burleson, but last 60 games, 303 batting average, 12 home runs, an OPS near 900. He's hitting the ball very hard. It's just a 12% strikeout rate. Still bad against lefties. So I can't ask you, Scott, did you realize? Because obviously you have realized, but just an opportunity to talk about Alec Burleson, who seems like a pretty good hitter.
Yeah, and he's sitting against lefties much less than I thought. He's basically an everyday player. I like Burleson a lot as a prospect. And I think one of my bold predictions going into last year was that he would be the top Cardinals outfielder in fantasy, which seemed crazy. Like I felt crazy writing it, and then it turned out to be true. So I do have a little bit of a track record here with Burleson. But I know at times more recently I've talked like, is he really that impactful in fantasy? Because in points leagues, he doesn't walk much, and in roto leagues, he's not going to give you a huge number of home runs, just maybe flirting with 20. But you look at his expected stats, and he's living up to them again all of a sudden. Just expected batting average 286. That's 88th percentile. Hard contact, lots of contact. And in theory, he should be a batting average standout. Now, Alec Burleson for the past 60 games, you say? Yeah, past couple months.
303.
Has lived up to it, and I think he could continue to do that.
Yeah, I made this comp coming into the season. He kind of feels very Josh Naylor-y. Now, he doesn't run as much as Josh Naylor, but
you couldn't have said that coming into the year.
In terms of just making contact and being a solid 20-ish home run hitter, I see some similarities there between Alec Burleson and Josh Naylor. Let's talk about Josh Naylor, who all of a sudden is a speed demon in Seattle. 2 for 4 with a sock and a shoe, his 12th homer, his 15th steal. He has 4 steals in 4 games with the Mariners. And mind you, look, I am no Adonis, but Josh Naylor doesn't really have the physique that would scream out to you that he is, out here stealing bases left and right. But he's doing it with the Mariners. And Scott, how about this? Did you realize Josh Naylor's 15 steals are more than both Corbin Carroll and Shohei Ohtani this season? Wowza.
That's amazing. That's really, especially Carroll. I don't know what Carroll's doing. It's not just that Naylor doesn't have the physique. It's third percentile sprint speed
I don't.
for him. And
Crazy.
4 home runs in his mini game for the Mariners. You know, it was funny when we were talking about Josh Naylor getting traded to the Mariners. I did my normal wishy-washy thing, like, there are some bad signs, but it'll probably be fine. The most confidently, the thing I said most confidently was that Josh Naylor has 11 steals now. I don't know why, but I don't imagine that's going to continue. And of course, he goes and steals 4 bases right away with the Mariners. So what do I know? Not much.
And last name here is Ronald Acuna, who destroyed a baseball 2 for 4 with 2 walks and his 14th home run. That homer, 110 miles per hour off the bat, 468 feet. I mean, just picking on poor Rich Hill, man. Like, come on. Ronald Acuna, why'd you have to go out there and do this against our old friend Rich Hill? But did you realize, Scott, is that in 11 games since moving to the number 3 spot in the lineup, Acuna is batting just .220, 3 homers. That's nice. 27% strikeout rate. So it's a very small sample size, but it stood out to me that, I feel like we've tried this before. Acuna's much better as a leadoff hitter. So it's just kind of weird that they moved him to the middle.
Yep. There was a point earlier in Acuna's career, earlier in Brian Snitker's managerial career, where he said, I'm never moving him out of the leadoff spot again, because nobody was happy with the way that experiment went the first time. But, obviously got to shake things up somehow. Nick Allen and Michael Harris weren't getting on base enough for Acuna, batting 8th and 9th, so dropped him to 3rd. I think in the long run, like if you're giving this infinite time to play out, Ronald Acuna's numbers look no different no matter where he's batting. But I don't know. Maybe he's unhappy not hitting leadoff. It's possible. Certainly looked happy with that 468-footer.
Yeah, my goodness, that was a bomb there for Ronald Acuna, who now has 14 home runs in just 54 games. So the power, the run scored, the batting average, obviously the steal pace is down, somewhat to be expected, but mostly everything else looks really good here for Ronald Acuna.